Hello parents, and happy Tuesday. Today is the last homework video for this week because on tomorrow it'll be review day for our quiz on Wednesday, and then I'll be sending that material home that we review, so you can go ahead and run through it with them again for the quiz on Thursday. And then on Friday will be our review for our big mid-unit test that will be on Monday, and that information will be going home again on Friday, so you have the weekend to kind of run through it with them to kind of refresh their memory on Monday. So today is going to be the last homework video for this week. We are still multiplying by tens. We are still using the base 10 blocks to help us do that in some circumstances, and then we also learned a new strategy where we are going to be breaking apart the 10 into something smaller, doing like we did on last week when we were grouping using parentheses, and sometimes even ordering, switching the numbers around. So that is what we did on today. We're going to go ahead and jump right in. So homework today was on page 219. And it says the hobby store has 3 boxes of wheels. There are 50 wheels in each box. How many wheels does the hobby store have? So number 1 says you can write 50 as, so they want us to take 50. We're taking 50 and we're going to break it up into, because we're using our base 10 blocks, they want us to do tens. So we're going to break it up into 10. And ask yourself, what could I multiply times 10 to get me 50? That will be 5. So we're going to break 50 up into 5 times 10. So when I go to number 1, that missing number is 5 because the 10 is already there. Because again, we're working with our base 10 blocks. 10s are easy to multiply by, so we stick with 10. Okay, so let's go to number 2. Now, if you notice on the side, there's a drawing. I didn't put the drawing up on the board, but there's a drawing here. And that drawing has 3 separate groups. And then each group has base 10 blocks. Well, each group has 5 base 10 blocks. That tells you there are 50 in each group. So I just wanted to look at that drawing right quick. You can, if you have your page, you can see what I'm talking about. It's on the right side. So then it says for number 2, 3 times, and then in parentheses, 5 times 10 is one way to group the factors, okay? Use parentheses to show another way to group the factors. So they start out with giving us 3 times, and in parentheses, 5 times 10. Now, if we are looking at that, the reason why they want us to find a different way to group the factors, because if I multiply what's in parentheses, it's going to give me 50. And that's what I started out with. So I don't want the same number again. I want a new number. I'm trying to break apart the 50. I don't want to get it back again. So that's why we changed the parentheses to another set of numbers so that I can get a new number. So because it's already around 5 times 10, the only other set would be to put it around 3 times 5. This goes back to last week when we were doing that. So you see how the lessons are building on each other? So this was from last week. So now we have our parentheses around 3 times 5 instead of 5 times 10. Because again, if I keep it around 5 times 10, I'm just giving myself the same number again, the number that I'm trying to break apart. Okay, so let's go to number 3. Number 3 has 3 times 5 times 10 equals blank times 10. So now that I know that I put my parentheses around 3 times 5, I'm going to put it around 3 times 5 for number 3. Because now that's why I know where I want my parentheses. I don't want them around 5 times 10 because I don't want that old 50 anymore. I want a new number. So I'm going to put around 3 times 5. So now I'm just going to multiply 3 times 5. Well, 3 times 5 is going to be 15. This is a fact that my kids already know, so you guys should be able to do that like that with no problem. So this is going to be 15. And it goes on that line. the next thing is the times 10. Well, they just went ahead and brought it over on this side. So the times 10 just came over until I'm ready to use it, okay? And which will be my next step. So number 4 says, the hobby store has blank wheels. Now all I have to do is multiply this. So I was telling my kids in class, the way that I thought would be an easy way for them to understand multiplying those big numbers like 15 times a 10 is to do it this way. If you feel like there's an easier way that you want to tell them, that's perfectly fine, but this is what I was telling them. So if you want to use something else, I have no problem with that. You go for what you know. All right, so this is what I was telling my kids. I told my kids that if you take the 15 and you multiply it times the 1, then that is going to give you the same number, which is 15. So once you do that, all you have left is the 0, where you're just going to bring the 0 and put it in the back of the number again in the ones place. The 0 will go back to the ones place and it gives you an answer of 150. Now, if you don't want to do it that way, you can draw it out and you can do 15 boxes with 10 in each box, but that's a lot. Or again, like I said, you have another way that you would like to show them how to multiply 15 times 10, that is perfectly fine. This was the easiest way that I think I could explain it to them without them overcomplicating it. So again, 15 times that 1, because anything times 1 is the number. They gave me 15, and the 0 in the ones place will go in the ones place again in my answer. So that gives me a final answer of 150 wheels. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next page, which is page 220. And that is going to be number 5. Number 5 says, draw a line to match each problem with another way to write it. So we are matching. We're matching this side with this side. So let's start with the first one. The first one I have 5 times 60. So I can break 60 up into 2 numbers that I can multiply together to get 60. Now, remember, because we are using our base 10, I'm going to use 10. And then I just have to figure out, well, what number could I multiply times that 10 to get me 60? And that's going to be 6. So I'm going to do 6 times 10. Now, that will give me this. That will be 5 times, and then in parentheses, 6 times 10. So I'm going to look to see if I have anything that is similar to that. Well, I have this one that is similar, but it looks like they went to the next step where we change the parentheses from around 6 times 10 and bring it around something else so that it's a different number, because again, we don't want that 60 again. So then it will look like this if I do that. It'll be 5 times 6 in parentheses times 10. Now when I look at that, I see that exact problem here. So I will draw my line there, okay? Let's go to, let's see. I'm gonna go to 50 times 4. Let's look at 50 times 4. So again, 50 is a big number. We're gonna break that up into a 10. So I'm gonna say what times 10 will give me 50? That is going to be 5. So I'm gonna break this up into 10 times 5. All right, so when I rewrite this, it's going to be in parentheses 10 times 5 and then times 4. So when I go here, I'm going to look to see if there's anything similar to that. I see the second one is similar, but again, it went to the next step. It moved that parentheses around a new set of numbers. So if I do that, then that would be 10 times, and then in parentheses 5 times 4, which is exactly what this is. So that means this would be my matching number. Okay, so I am going to do one more. I'm going to skip the next one and I'm going to do the last one because I want to give you two to try. So I'm going to give you this one to try, the second one, and I'm going to give you the fourth one to try. I'm going to go ahead and do that last one. So the last one, I have 40 times 3. So when I break that apart, because remember 40 is a big number, I'm going to do a 10. I'm going to ask myself, what times 10 will give me 40? Well, that will be 4. So now I'm going to break this up into 10 times 4. And when I rewrite this, it's going to be parentheses 10 times 4 and then times 3. So when I look at this, I'm looking, I see maybe the first one, but I see that the parentheses is around 4 times 3, which would be the next step. So when I change my parentheses from around 10 times 4 and put it around 4 times 3, then it'll be the same thing. So this will be 10 times and then in parentheses 4 times 3. Now once I do that, now it looks similar to that. The only difference is the parentheses numbers are in the front, but it's still the same thing. Okay, so that is it. I'm going to leave you with these two to figure out the last two. Is these two that you have to choose from, and these are the two problems. Good luck with that. I know you will do wonderful. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to number 6. Okay, here it is. So here's my number 6. Number 6 says, write the multiplication equation that the base 10 model shows. So they gave us some base 10 blocks. My lines are my base 10 blocks. They mean 10. So if you look at this, I have groups of, they're grouped together. So they look like they're grouped together in sets of 3. 3 in a group. So what I like to do, I like to just go in and draw boxes around my groups so that lets me know, hey, this is a group. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in there and draw boxes. So let's do that. So this is one group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, 5 groups, 6 groups. All right, so these are my 6 groups. Okay, so automatically they want me to write a multiplication equation. By me putting boxes around my groups, I know how to write my multiplication equation because Ms. Newman went ahead and wrote her blanks right here. And I remember from when we first started doing our multiplication facts that the first number in our multiplication equation, that's my groups. So I know now how many groups I have. So I'm just going to count how many groups I have just to make sure, because you know Ms. Newman loves a check. So let's go ahead and do that. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I know that on my first line, the answer is going to be 6. Okay. Now I just need to go in and figure out what is the size of each group. So when I look at each group, let's see how much I have inside of each group. Not all together, but each, which means one group. So in this one, I have 3. Okay, this one has 3. This one has 3. This one has 3. This one has 3. And this one has 3. So far, each box has 3. But don't forget, there are 10s. There are 10 boxes because they're the base 10s. So if I count, and because it's base 10, each one equals 10, I can do a skip count by 10 to figure out how much it is inside of one box. Let's do that. So this will be 10, then 20. How about Ms. Newman doing a different color? Let's do blue. So this is 10, 20, 30. So inside of one box, or each box, there are 30. So 30 is going to be my answer that I'm putting on my line for the size. Now, all we have to do is find the product. And remember, the product is the answer to our multiplication equation. That is a vocabulary word. So let's find our product. To do that, we can continue our skip count. So we can keep skip counting by tens till we get to the very last one. So let's go ahead and do that. So this will be 30. We stopped at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, and the last one is 180. So I got to 180 when I counted by tens. So now I know that the product, or the answer to my multiplication equation, is 180. All right, good job, guys. Let's go to number 7. Number 7 says, fill in the blanks to show how to find 4 times 70. So I'm trying to figure out how to solve 4 times 70. This goes back to when we were doing numbers 1 through 4, I want to say. Yes, this is going back to numbers 1 through 4, and it also looks like that example that is at the top. So we're going to go through it together. Okay, so they started us off with 4 times 7. So I have 4. But then I see my 70. And 70 is such a big number to multiply by. So again, we're going to break it up into a 10 since we've been working with our tens. So we're going to break it up into a 10 and a number. So I'm going to say, what number could I possibly multiply times 10 that will get me 70? Well, that would be 7. So I can break my 70 up into 7 times 10. Now, when I go to my parentheses, I have the 10 already, so the missing number I now know is going to be 7. All right, let's go to the next step. Now, my parentheses is around 7 times 10, but remember, we don't want to keep it there. Because if we keep it there and we multiply our parentheses, because remember, parentheses mean, hey, solve me first. I don't want to keep it there, because if I solve my parentheses, that means I'm going to get the same answer. I'm going to get 70. Well, Miss Newman don't want that 70. I'm trying to find something else. I want a new number. I don't want that 70. So that's why I'm going to move my parentheses around something else. Well, I know that this was 7, so this is going to be 7. So now in my new set of parentheses, I have 4 times 7. Now we're just going to go ahead and solve my parentheses, because remember I told you parentheses mean, hey, solve me first. So 4 times 7 is going to equal 28. That is where that 28 came from. So now we're just going to take our 28 and multiply it times our 10. So our 10 just keeps coming down in the steps until we are ready for it. Now we're ready for that 10. So just like I said before, if you have a better way to teach your scholar how to multiply a number times 10, then that is perfectly fine. But I'm going to show you this way. You can take your 28, multiply it times that 1 that's in the 10 place. That is going 28 times that 1 is going to be 28. Because any number times 1 is going to give you the same number. And now the 0 in the tens place, I'm just going to bring it over to, the 0 in the ones place, I'm just gonna bring it over to the ones place in my answer. So that gives me a final answer of 280. Once I do that, now I can answer the final question, which is 4 times 70 is going to give me an answer of 280. All right, so the last one is number 8. It says complete the equation below, show your work. I'm gonna leave that one to you. You can solve it using any strategy you like. You can practice this new strategy that we just did, like in number 7, or you can go back to number 6 and draw it out and do that strategy. So Ms. Newman is gonna let you do that one on your own. You pick whichever one works for you. So you have number 8 to do, and then when you go back to number 5, I left those 2 problems for you to do. So I know you're gonna do great. Take your time, don't get frustrated, you got it. That is it for today. I will see you guys on next week with a new video, but I will see my students on tomorrow for our review day. Parents, be looking out for the material that will go home that we reviewed so that you can review it that night so that they can be at their absolute best on Thursday and do extremely well on their quiz. I have no doubt they will. So that is it for today. I will see you guys next week. See my students on tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.